and we saw the ultimate departure of our Turkish Koksu as a result of the tournament. So all in all, not a bad tournament for
Yeah.
Benfica.
Yeah, no, yeah. Look, I think the exposure is good. I think being in the company of the best clubs in the past 4 years in Champions League, it's always good. But it's a tournament that logistically, in terms of weather, in terms of distances, even the venues that were chosen, because Porto got to play here up in the Northeast where Cristiano and I are, and Benfica just got pushed down to down south. I mean, I thought that Bayern and Boca, and obviously Boca, there's a big contingency of Argentinians down in South Florida, so on and so forth. So I get that, but either way, they would have traveled to watch the team. But yeah, the heat, playing games at 12 in the afternoon and 3 in the afternoon when it's hot and humid wasn't the best look,
Yeah,
certainly
but
for
Alfredo,
these teams.
that's when the games will be played in the World Cup. So they wanted to mimic the World Cup when the same schedule, same slots, everything. So when the World Cup next year will be games at 12, 3, 6, and 9. So I don't know how they're gonna be able to fix that. Because as you mentioned, in June, July, man, it gets 90s, hundreds in some cities particular. So
Yeah,
it'll be very interesting. But look, man, let's not kid ourselves. Or let's not forget. They did host the event here in 1994, and everything went according to plan. So I don't know if the
yeah,
weather's
and
changed that much, but
it wasn't as it wasn't any different. Like you said, the weather hasn't changed that much. But again, it would, like I said, it was good to have Benfica on these shores. Obviously, it was good that we were part of the first edition of the Club World Cup, and it was good we were able to collect some coin. But in other hands, I mean, we came with a team that wasn't really the team that was even closely remote to the team that we have now. I mean, all the new guys have arrived. Kokshu with that whole thing with Laj wasn't a very good look either for Benfica, and I think that at that point all of us thought that his fate was sealed, that he was just trying to push himself out of the club, whatever it was, but certainly wasn't a good look for Benfica, wasn't a good look for Laj, wasn't a good look for Kokshu. But at the end of the day, I think that if I have to look at this competition and how Benfica showed up, obviously getting to the knockout stages when you're grouped with Bayern and Boca, and especially with Boca being in mid-season form, was good, and especially winning the group. Right, we won the group, and then facing Chelsea, who would eventually be the champions of this competition, the first inaugural version of this competition. Wasn't too bad, and I'm sure that people got to enjoy that. The team was close, and went to training or at the hotels, so on and so forth. So I've seen a lot of pictures with people and players, which was, it's always good because we don't get a chance to be out in Europe or be out in Portugal to see the team up close. So having them on these shores was definitely something that was special. So, and yeah, my being in Miami Beach is always special as well. Um, so yeah, that's it for that. And then what, we had 14 days, as Cristiano was mentioning, to prepare for the season. We had a closed door game against Sturil at the Seychelles, which we won, but obviously those are scrimmages. I don't even know if they put on jerseys. It's probably just pennies. Then we had the Eusebio Cup against Fenerbahce, which is what, couple weekends ago. Um, yeah, and again, seeing the new players for the first time, Baranchea, Rios, Dedic, and some other guys was always good. Won the Eusebio Cup. It's always a happy moment when we get to win the Eusebio Cup, especially because it's played at home. But yeah, let's. I've been doing a lot of talking. Let's talk about the guys that came in. Certainly, lots of guys. Election year, so you always know that that's always going to be a crucial time for the president, that the sitting president, especially if he plans on running again.
Why do you have to be
So
mean,
there's always.
Alfredo? You don't have to be mean.
I'm not being mean. I'm just being
Look,
realistic.
elections or no elections, okay? This is
Uh
a
huh.
team that
Uh
needed
huh.
a drastic upgrade in the midfield. So I don't care who the president was. I don't care when the elections are. You could not come out there again with the pathetic Koksu, pathetic Florentino, and Ausnes in the midfield. You cannot replicate that. Again, you had to come in and bring in new reinforcements that are going to give this team a new life. And so you want to mention elections, do what you got to do, but it's unfair because this team is lacking quality. And Barriga Shea and Rios are two welcome additions to this team. I have my questions regarding both players. I like both players, but I still have my questions regarding both players, and in particular, more so about Rios because of his price tag. I think Benfica is severely lacking some playmaking ability players on the wing up top or even in the middle. Hopefully, they're able to get through Nice, and then Benfica will reinforce themselves and get to Feyenoord or Fenerbahce, and then Benfica, I think, will sign one player at the very last hours of the transfer window. But if not for these players coming in, if they don't come in, I think Rios was going to start receiving a ton of pressure because he's a player that fills the field, but unfortunately doesn't make the difference with the ball at his feet. I understand it's early. We've only seen him in 2 games, a preseason friendly, and there was every cup, as you mentioned, one official game against Sporting. I like the player, but we need a lot more. And so, again, to me, it's not about elections. It's not about any of that stuff. To me, it's about bringing in quality players that are going to make a difference and relegate Tino to a backup, which that's what he's suited for perfectly. Because as we've seen, when this guy plays and he's a regular starter, and he's one of the first names on the sheet, things haven't gone well for Benfica. He has his moments, but Tino is not an everyday starter for Benfica. Now we have two center midfielders that can play side by side with each other that are going to add tons of quality to this team, and it's going to be exciting to see these players.
Yeah. So we're live on YouTube. I got this figured out. So the guys are coming in with the comments. Manny Valadão, Fabs 8000, Abola Cadernos, Carlos Amaro, Logan Muniz. Welcome, guys. And this is a new platform because we kind of had to do something on the fly real quick because our usual platform wasn't working. I wasn't able to log in, but we'll get that sorted. Thank you guys for joining us, by the way. So just a quick recap, and Dave, I would give it to you, but I don't know if you have that information. So on the guys that came in,
I got
where
some
they came in from.
quick pointers.
Okay, you wanna
Yeah,
run
we
through
got
that?
Rafael Obrador from Real Madrid's academy, the left back there. 5 million with the Real having the buyback option. 21-year-old.
What's the buyback option, Dave? I didn't hear about that.
I don't
know?
have the details, but I know they do have a buyback option.
Okay.
Almost like United did with Carreras, but I don't know the exact details on that one. Yeah, young guy coming from the Madrid academy. Spent last year on loan with Deportivo La Coruña, 33 matches, provided 1 assist in the second division. Dedic, the Bosnian from Red Bull Salzburg, 22 years old, coming in at 12 million, spent last year on loan at Marseille in the winter transfer season, made 10 appearances with Marseille. Had 95 appearances at Red Bull Salzburg, 8 goals in the Austrian league there. And so Berenchia, or what did you? I like what you said there, Chris. Barriga Full and
Barriga Shea.
24-year-old Argentine. Spent last season with Valencia, 32 appearances with 1 goal and an assist. Richard Rios from Palmeiras, 25-year-old Colombian, 36 appearances last season with 4 goals and 4 assists. And then the new guy on the block here, Franjo Ivanovic from Union Saint Gilloise.
Dave, you're Canadian, bro. You should be able to spell
I
these
stopped
words.
after grade 9. Joa? Joa? Joa.
Gilo,
21-year-old
Gilo.
Croatian here, developed through the Augsburg Academy last season. 20 goals, 5 assists through 40 and 46 appearances.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, Samuel Dal. Benfica also signed Samuel Dal, but he was already at the club, so that I don't know if that counts as a new signing, but certainly is a signing. On the way out, Carreras 50 mil to Real Madrid, thanks that 6 mil to Feyenoord. Maite, we finally offloaded Maite, 1 million to PAOK. Di Maria on a free to Rosario Central. Obviously, he was out of contract and Kokshu to Besiktas for 25 mil plus 5 in objectives. So it's a good sell. It's a
Cut your
good
losses.
sell for
Phenomenal. The guy, I
yeah,
think he's
yeah.
already worn out his welcome at Besiktas.
Yeah, he wasn't even
already.
starting. He
Already,
wasn't
he
even
didn't even play
starting.
the other day. Yeah, he does. They kept him on a bench rate. I think he's already worn it out. So I'm glad to see him go. He's a miserable person. Not the happiest of campers. I've heard some not very good stories about the guy, and I could tell you this much, man. Anytime a player on my team is out there and looking miserable, looking mad, even after scoring and whatever, bro, this is a player that obviously thought he was bigger than the club, and there's no room for him at Benfica. And I know a lot of people, want to throw darts at Bruno Lage, and maybe Bruno Lage didn't have his best moment as well. But when you constantly dealing with this nonsense over and over, man, it takes its toll. And so I'm glad that this guy is out, and I hope that the next one, Arturo Kuglu, follows him out the
Yeah.
door very soon as well. I mean, I can't. And it was the same thing with Rafa. I used to love Rafa, but then when Rafa went through a little stretch there where he looked mad even after, remember that one goal he juked everybody from end to end, scored, and didn't celebrate. It's like, bro, if you're that miserable, bro, go do something else. Go do
Stop.
something else. Go,
Yeah.
go
fishing.
go work at
Go
McDonald's
fishing.
or something. See how you like it.
Yeah, I haven't seen. Look, from what I've seen, obviously, I think Richard Rios is probably the one that's the most that has the most visibility and most exposure. Right? He played for Palmeiras. He's a guy that's a physical presence in the midfield. Is not shy to get in people's faces. As a matter of fact, he had a confrontation with Otamendi during World Cup qualifiers. Was it? So obviously a guy that has a little bit more visibility. He's also very active on social media. So I have expectations. I have high expectations for him. I don't. If I was talking to Cristiano, and Cristiano was mentioning something, which is very true. If we're waiting for Rios to be our savior, it's going to be way too much pressure on him, and he's not going to be able to do that. He's also not that guy. He's the guy that has a physical presence, that covers ground, that could fend off opponents with his ball skills. He has a futsal background, so he has some tight ball skills, but he's not the creator that we're looking for the midfield. For me, Barrenechea, I'm looking for him to be more of a key player than Rios. I think that Rios is going to bring that physicality, that attitude in the midfield that sometimes we're too soft, that we don't have Tino to display that. I think that Rios is going to bring that, but I think that Barrenechea is going to be our he's going to be our clicker. He's going to be the guy that's going to make things work in terms of balancing the team, in terms of coming out with the ball. I think that I have a lot more expectations on Barrenechea than I do with Rios, but I do think that Rios is a good buy.
And that's
I'm
a
also
problem, though,
I've
Alfredo.
also been
Spend 30 million on one guy and 13 million option on another guy. That's a huge problem. But hopefully we will
yeah
get to it, because hopefully they'll
yeah
bring
but
in some creative players, and I do think Rios will be good for the team. He's going to be a fan favorite. He's a player that has tremendous pulmão. Never going to stop running. He's going to be in people's faces. He's not going to back down from anyone. So he'll quickly become one of our favorites. But as I'm saying, that little red flag, if nobody comes in, with that type of
Yeah.
ability, and then the team maybe doesn't get some positive results. You know how it happens in Benfica world. It'll quickly turn into, yo, man, gastamos 30 milhões neste gajo e não faz caralho. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not about the pressure on the player himself. It's just that I don't think the player has the ability with his feet to be a creator, a guy that's going to be scoring many goals, or to be creating tons of opportunities for his teammates. And so I do think that will be a problem. But as I said, hopefully there's some rumors about a lot of guys. No point in even mentioning them because it's too many to go through. But they do bring in
Yeah.
some guys that'll be able to make the difference. And then but Rios will just slot in to doing what he does best, which is being box to box and being a disruptor and getting involved in every little bit of the game.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then obviously there was that Felix João Felix's saga that went on for a little bit. Kevin Martins is saying not disappointed we didn't get Felix either. Look, I think that there's two factions in terms of this Felix thing. There's the faction that feel that Felix had an opportunity to come to Benfica and he chose the money. But as Cristiano will shortly explain to you guys and give you his side of the story or how he rationalizes, which I agree with. It wasn't that easy for Felix to come to Benfica. Chris,
I mean, what's there to
explain
say,
it.
Alfredo? Look,
Explica aí
I
ao
was
pessoal.
really hoping we weren't going to touch on this, but now you're putting me on the spot,
Yeah.
and it's not. You've heard a lot, you've read a lot about what Felix what Felix could have done to come to Benfica, and at the end of the day, it was out of Felix's control. At the end of the day, this was Chelsea Ekmandava. Chelsea had the cake and the knife, or whichever. They control the situation, and if Benfica wasn't willing to pay the price that Chelsea was demanding, there was nothing João Felix could have done. João Felix wasn't in a position like a Victor Yogurts at Sporting where he had people willing to come in and drop loads of money on the table to take him. João Felix, at this point in his career, unfortunately for him, multi-talented, ultra talented player. A player I'd love to have at Benfica because I think he could have rejuvenated his career. But unfortunately for him, he's been around one too many clubs, and the top clubs are not willing to invest the money and take the chance on him because they could spend the same amount of money on a player that's going to give him more guarantees or will be a little bit more consistent. Therefore, João Felix couldn't just say, "I'll sit in the sidelines for the whole year and then really lose my any possibility of making the World Cup roster. So I just sit around on the side." So João Felix had to wait and see what happens with Benfica and Chelsea first. Before João Felix could have agreed with Benfica on anything he wanted to agree. At the end of the day, Chelsea controlled the situation. And so anyone criticizing João Felix, not understanding that Chelsea was the one that dictated what was going to happen in this negotiation, doesn't understand a clue about football. And it's really easy to come on here and talk about players and where they should have gone and where they should be and what they should do. It's real easy to talk about other people's wallets. But at the end of the day, George Mintz controls the situation and more so Chelsea. And Chelsea had better offer elsewhere. And they said, look, you don't have to go to Al Nassr. You're just not going to go to Benfica because Benfica is not matching these numbers. So unless Benfica matches
Yeah.
these numbers, you're going to sit around. Yeah, you're going to get paid your contract. You're gonna get 7 million clean a year. You're gonna have a lovely time in London, chilling with the practice squad, but you're not gonna be playing in any games. And so it is what it is. Look, at this point, João Felix did what he had to do in order for his pocket and maybe for his career. We'll see in 2 years' time. We'll see what happens. Right now, it's easy to criticize, but we'll see what happens. I believe in George Jesus. I think George Jesus could actually be a positive influence on him. Maybe Cristiano Ronaldo be a positive influence on him. And in 2 years, we're talking about a totally different player. But right now, it's about Benfica. And I think Benfica has missed on one too many targets. Everybody talks about Felix, but let's not forget we missed Thiago Almada. There's other guys that we missed. And so, whatever it is that they're doing, they need to come to the table. They need to uh, bring blank checks for these players that they're trying to get that will obviously be very influential players in the locker room, very big difference makers. And in order to get these types of players, you're gonna have to pay. Every time I talk to people about, you know, some of these rumored players, but the wages, but bro, just like I've said this to you, Alfredo, many times. I said it to Hugo and Dave and a lot of people off the record, and it's always like it seems to be Benfiquistas are the only fan base that I notice on a day-to-day basis that worries about finances as much as they do the wages. The well, listen, if the club is
Moving
if
us,
the club
Paul.
is willing to pay and the club sits down at a table and somebody and they've made their contas and and they've added up all their pennies and they think that they could pay someone, who am I to say that they can't? I don't know their finances in and out, and even when they tell us, it's still not the freaking truth. So if you want to get difference makers, you're gonna have to bring in the heavy bags, okay? And we'll see what happens. Obviously, we want these players to come in sooner rather than later because we have very important games coming up. But we'll
Yep.
see what happens, man. Just want everybody to remember, good players get paid a lot of money, and they get paid a lot of money
Sure.
because they're good players. If you want to pay cheap contracts, you're not going to get the types of players. I mean, Benfica was paying, the Arturs of the world shitload of money, and they sucked. So if you're going to pay the same amount of money to very good players, I'd rather do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you guys know, and obviously you probably heard, but the names that are being floating around in terms of that one creative player, which Elijah also addressed that question today, are Isco, Dybala, and Ibrahim from Real Madrid. Chris, is that the guy's name?
Ibrahim Diaz. Who'd you mention? Because
Ibrahim
I was
Diaz,
reading the comments. Because we got to go over some of these comments, by the way, a little
Dybala,
while.
and Isco.
Dybala, Isco, Ibrahim Diaz. I love every single not Diaz. I'm not a big Diaz fan, but I do love Dybala. I do love Isco. I think you should have gotten these players 2 years ago. I would have been a lot more comfortable with these guys. I understand they're getting a little long in the tooth, but two players that are tremendously talented. And let's not forget, for all of the haters and Freddy's, yes, I'm talking to you guys. And whether you're on YouTubers or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whenever you're listening to this, I love you guys. Thank you very much for tuning in to another Benfica podcast, to another Benfica podcast season. We're excited and thrilled and depressed at times to come, but we always here to talk to you guys, and we love you guys. But I have to give you a little bit of advice to all the haters, okay? All you guys that'll criticize the possible signings of Isco, who I absolutely love. For those of you listening, whoever wondered what I was like as a player, Isco, I think, is the player that perfectly describes the type. I think me and him, we played. It's a perfect match. But that's neither here or there. But what I wanted to say is, those of you that are criticizing right now the possible signing of a Paulo Dybala and a Isco are the same ones that are getting Pablo. Okay, and I want you guys to go back when Pablo Aymar came in. He was coming in todo roto from Zaragoza, right? And even at Benfica, let's not forget, he spent 5 years at Benfica and he only played about 2.5 because the other ones he was always injured. So let's not forget the tattoos you have, Aymar. You're gonna be getting an Isco tattoo or a Dybala tattoo because these are same type of players, if not better. Okay, let's not forget, if not better. So I understand it's a risk. But you're only getting these players, these quality of players, because they're no longer the players they once were once upon a time. If they were, they'd be at the biggest clubs in the world. They would not be on the market, and in particular for a team like
Yeah,
Benfica to be paying them peanuts. So rather
yeah,
than hating on it,
yeah,
look at it with open heart and just say, man, if these guys come, I hope that they're good. And we'll go from there. But don't hate on the possibility of getting these players because you got to pay them 4 million. Who'd you rather pay? Isco 4 million or go pay Paul Bernardo 800,000? I mean, give me Isco at 4 million all day, bro.
Paul Bernard for
I'm just
this.
saying, because that's what these like I mentioned before. I want to read some of these comments. Fabs was, and while we're on the topic, I'll read one of the comments. Fabs had a question. He said, "We are now lining up with only one Portuguese player and only one academy product now." Antonio, how does that make you feel, bro? At the end of the day, I don't care where you're from. Okay, I don't care what continent, what country, what color you're from. I want the best players possible at Benfica. If the best central, the best right wing, the best striker is from the Seychelles, phenomenal. If he's from China, phenomenal. If he's from South Africa, phenomenal. If he's from Canada, phenomenal. I don't care where they're from, guys. Get that through your mind. Yeah, I mean, it'd be a perfect world to have 11 guys from Seychelles. They're all fantastic. But the 11 guys from Seychelles I want is
is Juan Felix, it's Bernardo, it's Ruben Diaz, it's Gonzalo Rams, it's João Neves, it's those types of bums that have all come up and gotten some playing time and never really flourished into anything special. So it's really hard to, I go through this every year, and I'm pretty sure some of the Freddies that are regular listeners are already rolling their eyes because I repeat myself year after year. And where I tell people it's really hard to get one guy every season out of your academy to get promoted to the main squad and have an impact. No, you guys want 11. I mean, for Christ's sake, let's slow down a bit. But that being said, I love you
Yeah.
guys. And I'm gonna pass the mic to Dave because I think I've got myself in trouble enough. So let Dave get in trouble a little
I
bit.
was just gonna say, why don't we make it 3 years in a row? We get the PSG contacts
Dave.
there.
4.
I've heard
4.
the
I had that
Marco
note.
Asensio rumor as well that he's available there. 29-year-old.
Dave, first of all, it's 4 years. This will be 4 years in a row. Or it might even be 5 if you throw Gonzalo Guedes in there. But Guedes, I don't think came from PSG.
That was a while back. That's not 5 in a row. That was a while back.
No, there's 4 in a row though. If you do it this year, it's 4 in a row.
This
Yeah,
will be
you
the
got
this will be
fourth
four, starting
season
with
for it.
Draxler. Yeah,
Bernard,
yeah,
Sanchez, and now will be
Yep.
4.
And
So it'll be 4 years in a
Bernat.
row. But you know what? The difference is Asensio was 29 years old. Played well at West Ham last year. So he's not injury prone. So I mean, I would take Asensio in a heartbeat. But since we're on the topic of PSG, you know who I want, and Benfica desperately needs this type of player. And I'm not sure if he's on the list of expenses for them, but I think Benfica could get their hands on him. I can't say his name, but it's kind of something like Lee Sum In or some shit like that. It's a South Korean player. The dude is phenomenal. They got him from Mallorca. I would love for Benfica to get their hands on that guy. And look, PSG owes Benfica big time. Not only did we take 3 Monkus from them in consecutive years, but we gave them a gift in João Neves. And so they owe us, man. So if we could get our hands on a player like that, I think he'd come into Benfica and he'd be an instant hit. The dude is a phenomenal dribbler, a guy that's on top of defenders. He is everything we need and more. So yeah, Asensio on one side, why not? And him Lee, whatever whatever his I don't know his name. But yeah, get that other guy over there. Young players that have a lot to add. I'd be all for it, man. I'd sign up for it yesterday.
Chico Marcelino has a question here for you,
Bora, Chico.
Chris. He said, I would like to ask Chris if he agrees with me that Porto have the best coach out of the Tres Grandes.
Hey, no, Mel.
I don't know anything about their coach, to be honest with you. I don't
Hey,
know if Chris does, but I don't.
She's trying to get me in trouble, operator. You know what I'm referencing to.
I can't rate Borders.
That's
I
fine.
don't think Borders lasts
Neither
till the
do
end of
I.
the season.
Phenomenal. That's fine. We could all agree on that. But the one thing I think we could all agree on as well is it's way premature to start making football
Yeah.
this coach that, you know what I mean? This is a coach that had a 9-point lead at Ajax and blew it with 5 games to go, whatever it was. So I get it. You might be excited about the guy, but the 3 coaches have huge question marks. All 3 coaches have a ton to prove. And I'll stick with that.
I think that I don't know. I haven't seen him, and obviously I know that the Dutch reality is very similar to the Portuguese reality in terms of the way you compete and the quality of the teams. But I don't know much about these. I don't know about this coach. I don't, like I said, I don't rate Borges that high. I think that Lage is in Lage. Let's agree on this, right? So Lage came in halfway through this season last year, or a quarter into the season, and from the looks of it, it looks like if you get a guy that's a creative guy, as we've been talking here, you can honestly say that Lage has been given a roster that has options and that he could work
What
with.
roster?
So
This
that
year? We have
Yeah.
no wingers.
no, if you the one guy that's responsible for the squad or for one of the directs 90% closed. So there's still maybe a couple of guys to come in. Obviously, with Bruma's injury, and Bruma is going to be out for the rest of the season with an Achilles tendon injury. We're going to, and most likely Artur Koglu on the way out. We definitely are going to need a winger. I don't think we could live off of Sheldrup and Prestiani for the whole year. And I know that Auschness has been deployed at the right, but sometimes you need guys that are going to stretch the game, guys that are they're going to challenge players, they're going to take players on, and you kind of need that. You need that verticality, especially when you're playing against 80% of the teams in Portugal. You're going to need that type of player. So but I think that, look, I think there's some holes that have been plugged in. I think that midfield is looking stronger, more robust. I think that Antonio Silva is going to have a good season this year. I think that Pavlidis is going to have a very good season this year. Also, I got big expectations for Ivanovic as well. So I think, look, I think the team is taking shape, obviously, and like we mentioned, it's election year. And Cristiano doesn't want me to mention that it's election year, but look,
No,
I
no, I
think
don't want. It's not that I don't want you to make. You might very well be right. What I was saying is that it's unfair to say a person who needed a heart transplant got a heart transplant because you're trying to be nice. No, bro. Like the team needed these, in particular, these two new guys in the middle of the field. We needed that, like somebody needed. In talking about heart attacks and R.I.P. to George Costa. I understand, a rival of ours, Foco do Porto, and
yeah,
I couldn't stand him as a player, but I know many people that know him, and they say the guy as a person is a beautiful person, was a really nice person. Obviously, we have the images of him on the field and what he was against us, and we also have the right to think what we think of the play of the person as a player. But nonetheless, R.I.P. to him, R.I.P. to his family. Sad situation. 53 years old, and it's sad whether it's at our club, at their club. But so I don't know if using the heart stuff was a good example. But Benfica severely needed these two acquisitions, Alfredo. So to say that this had any motivation behind it, political I think it's BS. You might talk about other side now, the big names that they're trying to go after. You might be right. That I won't argue with you. But in terms of what's come in so far, oh yeah, they've needed every single one of these players. This has nothing to do with elections. That's all I was trying to say, Alfredo.
yeah. So I think, look, with a couple surgical, definitely a creative guy for that midfield. I think would be well served, and I think you got to go pick up a winger. Definitely a guy that's going to be able to make the difference. I think that's going to be key. But look, I think at the end of the day, I think when you look at these rosters, and obviously big loss for Sporting, losing Gyökeres. I don't think they've gone it out and gotten anybody that I'm impressed with. Obviously, I've only seen them in the Super Cup. Porto, I mean, this whole Luke de Jong operation was very typical of Porto, very secretive. Guy shows up, nobody even knows that he's going to sign up. So I don't know, he's got a couple guys, but I know, like, a new coach in lots of changes, there's always a learning curve
He's
to it.
never
So
gonna
we'll see.
play. He's never gonna. Samu's gonna be on the field at all times, bro. Talking about a
Yeah, so
33-year-old player that's way past his prime, and the reason why nobody knew about it is because nobody cared about it.
for this.
I mean, we're talking about a day and age where a guy farts, and Fabrizio Romano's like, "Oh, Alfredo Tomas farted at the beach in New Jersey," and you telling me you can get a player his age and his family, everybody, and this shit was top secret, and it's because nobody cared.
Yeah. Yeah, and Fabs is saying that Elijah's expressed his need for a winger several times this preseason. I think that Artur Koglu is
No, he didn't. Not today. Today they asked about a creativo.
several. He said several times
We don't
during the
need it.
preseason.
Yeah, he also told you during the preseason to back the Direção, and then 3 days later they fired everybody from Direção. So I don't know. I don't know what that means,
Yeah.
bro. That's a political. That's when we bring in. Listen, by the way, we're gonna try to get the candidates to come on the Benfica podcast here and answer some questions for us.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about that stuff. So that's a political moment. We'll get into that
Yeah.
later on.
Chico Marcelino wants to know what do you think about Rio's decision making with the ball? Chico, you came in late, man. We already spoke to Rio's, but that's okay.
See, you know why he's asking that question, right?
Why is he asking that question?
Because he's having the same doubts I'm
Yeah.
having. He
No,
has a question. The fact that he's questioning it is because ele vê que está ali alguma coisa que vamos ter que ter respostas mais
we'll see.
tarde.
It's early. It's early. The team hasn't had too much time to play together. They did have one competitive game against Sporting Super Cup, which ended in Benfica's 1-0 win in Benfica's 10th Super Cup. Had 14 days to prepare. Not a very pretty game, to be honest with you. I just thought that Benfica had a little bit more than Sporting in the second half and got that goal, which, by the way, it started with the Rios pass to Pavlidis. But I'm with you guys. I'm still. It's still early to assess these guys. Now, there's guys that you could see as soon as they touch the ball, it's like for this, who signed off on that guy. But I'm happy with that. I think that I find that it's very interesting in terms of how he shows up on a field. Obviously, he's a guy that likes to go forward a lot more in the modern fullback or is what they do. But I'm interested in seeing a little bit more of him and Baranechea, as I mentioned. But he was just is the guy with the most visibility, just to repeat what I said earlier. But yeah, Super Cup 1-0 Sporting.
I love Dedic, the first game against Fenerbahce,
Mhm.
Alfredo and Dave and Freddie. I loved them. And I said, man, we got something here. I like the player going forward a lot. And then in the second game against Sporting, he wasn't involved as much, so I don't want to really put it on because it's a totally different game. But he left me concerned a bit on the defensive side of the ball. I think he struggled defending a few times, and in particular, I mean, go to the one goal that was called back on offsides. He got beat on
Yeah.
that play really bad, and there was a couple of other times during the game that he was out of position, and so I thought he struggled in that one game, um, defensively, positionally. So I don't know if it was nerves or whatever. Hopefully, he'll get better in the future, but total contrast of what I saw in the first game to the second game, but. It's early.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm excited for tomorrow's game. I want to see him playing tomorrow. Dahl is Mr. Consistency. It is what it is. Another spectacular, nothing terrible. Obrador played very few minutes against Fenerbahce, but if you guys are wondering what my thoughts on Obrador is, I put my stamp of approval. I can't exactly explain into you guys yet what it is, but there's something about the player that I like. I saw he touched the ball 2 or 3 times, and I saw enough that I said, okay, this guy, be patient. But I think we got something with Obrador. I think Obrador will come true in the future. But as long as he gets some backup, some minutes, and these other smaller games and stuff like that, and when Dal is out. But I think we'll be pleasantly surprised with him. And then Ivanovic, man, like 28 mil. You got to score a lot of goals, and it's going to be the same thing about Rios. We talked about Rios already, so just anxiously
Yeah.
awaiting to see what happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Vamos
I
ver.
think that we'll see them. We'll see them tomorrow. Benfica plays their first prelim qualifier into the Champions League tomorrow, 8 p.m. local Portuguese time, actually, because they're playing in France. They're playing against Nice tomorrow. And Ivanovic was apparently Blaj was saying that he's ready, made the travel list. The one that didn't make the travel list was Artur Koglu, who seems to have picked up an injury. The second leg will
Mysteriously, when the Turcos and Besiktas, Besiktas, right? Or
Fener.
Fenerbahce, I forget. When the Turcos arrive in Lisbon, his ankle hurts. I don't know. It seems perfect timing for me. Vamos ver. Because if he doesn't get hurt and he gets sold, it's gonna look like Benfica. What are you doing? You have all these important matches coming up. If he's hurt, it's like, oh, he's hurt anyway. He wasn't gonna count. I don't know. For a player that never smiles, I listen. Give me 18 mil. We call it. We call it.
Yeah, the
A,
guy's allowed to get hurt, Chris. Come on, for this.
I didn't say he's not allowed to. I just said it's just very
This
suspicious.
guy smiled though. This guy
You
would
know,
do the celebration, the Harry Potter celebration. This guy smiled. Chris, come on.
he
Come
did
on,
at the beginning of the year, and then he stopped smiling.
Stop smiling.
You forget. I mean, go back and look at the last substitutions. He was always mad. Go look at
Who,
him. I'm
tell
not
me
making
who
this up.
was smiling at the end of last season. Were you smiling at the end of last season?
Yes, because the season was coming to an end. Now, look, any of you guys, let's go. You guys wanna take a jab at the 11 for tomorrow? Because I have predictions.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
Truben, Tadic, Tony, Otamendi, Dal, Berenechea, Rios. Man, I fucking hope that Barreiro doesn't play. Maybe it goes Ivanovic as a third midfielder. I don't know.
That's for the
Um,
cabeza, bro. They spent
on the
$28 million on a striker to put him in the midfield. Yo, tú andas fudido cabeza, bro. What are you smoking?
no, or maybe I don't know. He'll figure out a way. I think Auschwitz is going to be on the right. I think Sheldrup is going to be on the left. And I think
They're gonna
Pavlidis is
play a
gonna be on top.
4-4-2, 4-4-2. Austin's on the right, Shalrup on the left, with Ivanovic and Pavlidis up top, and I think Pavlidis is gonna drop back a little bit
All right, that
more
works.
to come get the ball. I mean, maybe the other guy is the next Messi for all I know. I never seen the guy play, but I think he's a pure striker. I don't think he's a guy that's gonna be playing in the midfield. I think Pavlidis has the ability to play make. I think he has the ability to pass the ball through him and open the game up and stuff. He's shown it. He's shown that already. I think he'll go there. If he goes Barreiro, bro, I mean,
Diogo's saying Barreiro was one of our best in the Sporting game, Alfie. Come on, dude. É gajo
you
que só
know,
corre, pá. Não faz merda nenhuma, man. Só corre, caralho.
Diogo might be
Foda-se.
right, as I've said here on the podcast many times. Diogo, we have to see. I know Diogo Alfredo, as you know. I know Diogo, and I know that Diogo watches the game with the TV upside down,
Ah!
and so maybe to him it looked like tremendous game. Maybe we'll see.
O gajo só corre, pá. That's all he
Yeah,
does. He just chases the
so
ball.
does Rios. So does Rios.
Foda-se.
And by the way, just so you know, Shiku said, "Yeah, I have some questions about Rios." I thought me and Shiku, I think we're on the same wavelength here.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave, what do you think about the game tomorrow, Dave?
But I was 11 first. What's your
Well,
11?
the
Dave?
11, the defense speaks for itself. The wingers, we got no wingers, so they're by default it's going to be Auschwitz and Sheldrup there. I'm with you. I hope he doesn't start Barreiro there, but he probably will, depending on how confident he is with this new guy. Unless he wants to go to a 4-4-2, but he probably does
Simply
start.
João Rego.
You could. He's gotten some
Nah,
action
I
here,
think João
but
Veloso will be first before Rego.
yeah.
Or João Veloso.
But I
But you
think
can't start these kids on the road in such an important match like that, man. I don't know. Right, I'm sorry, Dave. I keep interrupting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. Hey, this is the guy. Remember, he started all the young kids in Turkey. Remember the Lajes balls were in Turkey. So he's done it before, but
Yeah, I
this
don't
is
see his Juan Felix on this roster and a Ruben
yeah,
D.
no,
I mean,
that's
you know what I
that's
mean?
for
Like,
sure. That's for
yeah.
sure. And this is a game worth millions of dollars too, right? The season could go sideways if we don't qualify for the Champions League here, and people could be losing their jobs and not getting reelected. But I think he probably does go Barreiro because we are so limited in options there, unless there is that complete trust in this Ivanovic that he's fully integrated into the squad to go to a 4-4-2.
Yeah. Second leg happens a week from today. At Stade de Luz, and by the way, Benfica was not allowed to sell tickets to their fan base in France as a result of a UEFA punishment for pyro and whatever. Um, After that, it's either Fenerbahce or Feyenoord. Fenerbahce, which we played in the Zabu Cup. Feyenoord, which is Tanksted's new club. So maybe Casper, the friendly ghost, will come to haunt us if we get to play Feyenoord. Who knows if he's even playing? But yeah, not either team is not going to be an easy match. But we need to get past Nice first, which is not going to be easy, even though they're missing one of their key players due to injury. But yeah, what else? Benfica District was announced. I don't know if we have time or patience to even go through that at this point. Was big infrastructure around the stadium that involves commercial areas, so on and so forth. The increased capacity for the stadium as well. So blah 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 blah. Rui Costa has been accused of using this as an election joker, if you will. Timing is not the best, so on and so forth. There's a few other things. Elections or election time is pretty high right now. A lot of the candidates have been very outspoken in terms of what's going on with the team, what's going on with Rui Costa, what's going on with the changes of the team. If you recall, or you may not recall, but there's been some significant changes in terms of the positions that are closest to the team, right? So Simon Sabrosa is now the sporting director in exchange for Lourenço Coelho. Whilst Gonçalo Guimarães is now the press officer. Chris, I don't know if that was with your buddy's Lemos title, but he's now. And then we have another guy that's in charge of the Seychelles. So there's been quite a few changes in terms of those positions, which are very key positions that have happened. But yeah. Noronha Lopes has been out there. Cristóvão Carvalho has been out there. João Manteiga has been out there. So if you guys listen to Mata Mata, I think they've had they definitely had Noronha Lopes, Cristóvão Carvalho, João Manteiga so far on their podcast. So if you have
and they had the other guy yesterday.
Martin Meyer.
Yes, they had him yesterday as well.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one yet, but I had a chance to speak to Noronha Lopes when we were in Miami and told him about the podcast, and we spoke for a little bit. Turns out that he went to school here in the United States and he lived in Toms River, which is a little bit south of where Chris and I live. So he said that he lived in Toms River, where he attended school in Philadelphia.
He's the one that started the Jersey Shore. He was,
he's the original Snooki.
He's the original. Yeah, they try to imitate him in their show.
But I spoke to him about the podcast. I told him I'd love to have him on a podcast to discuss the elections, and obviously we'd love to extend that to all four of the candidates, with the exception of Luis Lifiera, obviously, and we all know what's gone on with him. He gave an interview.
Why wouldn't you invite it? If you're going to invite everybody, why the exception?
No, because I don't consider him a candidate.
But if he is, you will have to take all candidates.
But I don't think he speaks English. That's the thing.
He'll bring his translator.
Are you the translator?
No, I've already translated for him a couple of times. No, but I'm retired from that gig.
So looking forward, because there was obviously Noronha Lopes. The biggest thing that has really resonated with the people outside of Portugal has been that he's opposed against the voto eletrónico, or the electronic vote. So as Benfica supporters, and Chris is very adamant about this, and so am I. As Benfica supporters that live outside of Portugal, how are we supposed to voice our opinion? How are we supposed to represent ourselves? And obviously, the other argument that Chris makes is, when it's for commercial uses and advertising and exploring the American market, it's all fine and dandy. But to cater to the outside of Portugal crowd, and especially in the United States and North America, where there's a huge market, obviously, of commercialization, um, we should be regarded as important in terms of voicing our opinion, as well as being clients of the club, or being commercial targets. So I think those two go hand in hand. So that's a question that we'd love to ask him, to see what his solution is if he's opposed to electronic vote. So we're hoping in here in the coming weeks, as we enter the end of August and the beginning of September, and people are coming back from vacation, that we're able to really set a time to speak to these guys, even if it's just 20 to 30 minutes. And I think that most of the questions that I want to ask are centered about the outside of Portugal Benfica community, and how are they planning on catering and supporting those fans outside of Portugal. I think that's very important for us to know those ideas, and what their propositions are for the fans outside of Portugal, because there's probably more Benfica fans outside of Portugal than there are in Portugal, to be honest with you. And Portugal is a small country, obviously. But yeah, I'm interested in finding that out. What else? What else do we got that we haven't spoken about, Chris and Dave?
They
Is that it?
they added 2 rows of seating to the stadium at the lower
Yeah,
level. I think
the
they should do
stadium.
more. I like the English style of
The
the
stadium is now 68,100 capacity.
um
68,100
I
capacity. But the idea is to go to 70. I think that's the next milestone.
yep.
So
What else?
what else, Dave? Dave, what do we miss?
Nothing. We recap the preseason, touched on the Super Taça.
Nah, we didn't mention, because I'm pretty sure we're gonna get this throughout the year after a bad Truben game, that Andrea Moreira, right? And their son from Moreira. What's his name? The kid, he's at Alberca. I think he might start in the first division for Alberca, which would be big. Which would be big. I'm glad to see that he's gonna get the opportunity, and then we can see him play, and then we can finally make a decision that this kid's ready for the Benfica net or not, as opposed to what everybody wants to do, just throw him in net because he's the best goalie on the team already. Um, so that's a big move for him.
Andre
He's at
Gomes.
is it Gomes? Andre Gomes. I
Yeah.
said Sons Moreira. I was close. Andre Gomes is at Alverca.
Silva.
Yeah, I was gonna get to Gomes at some point. Yeah, he is now at Alverca. So that's something to
Yeah.
keep an eye on.
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep an eye. I think it's the logical step for him, because there's big expectations in terms of what is this kid's potential. But obviously, behind Samu and behind Truben, is not going to go anywhere. So let him go. Let him go. Save 20, 25 shots a game will be good for him.
Chris, since you love Seychelles so much, are you okay with Enrique Ruju being our third striker?
Yeah, as a third striker, absolutely.
But if you're depending on him as being the second or even higher,
But
then
he's
we
not,
have
because you
issues.
got
Yeah.
No.
Pavlidis and
Yeah.
Ivanovic. So I mean, it's not something we have to worry about.
Yeah.
Before I was worried, not no more. I mean, look, we'll see what look. Here's the thing, man. Dave, I want every kid in Seychelles to turn into an absolute stud. But I can't sit here and wave the pom poms for a guy that was gone for like 3 years and couldn't score goals at Aroca, couldn't score goals at Riwaf, couldn't score goals. I mean, the guy couldn't score goals anywhere, and now I'm expecting him to be the savior at Benfica. I mean, let's just think about this a little bit before we say dumb things. That's all. And I think now in this position that he's at, where you got Pavlidis, you got Ivanovic, there's no pressure on him. He's gonna get minutes to play, and now when he plays, he'll be able to develop at his own time, and maybe we still get a player out of this. But
Yeah.
it's still way too immature. immature. I'm so premature, I should say, to start making all these comments or these, assertions that the guy is going to be the next savior of Benfica. And then it just makes me laugh. He's wearing 39. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That shit cracks me up. But hey, we'll see. Hey, hopefully he does score the game-winning goal when we need it and we win the campeonato. Let's go. I'm all for
Yeah.
it.
All right, everybody. I think that's all. That's all we got for today. We'll be back next week. I think Benfica plays on the 12th, which is Tuesday, right, Dave? Yeah. So we'll try to get a podcast out to you after the game. Benfica will not play for the league this weekend. The league opens up. Benfica was supposed to be playing against Rio Ave, but obviously because of European competitions, both teams agreed to postpone. Porto will not be playing their inaugural game of the 25-26 season either because of the sudden passing of George Costa. And as Cristiano mentioned, just wanted to extend our condolences to the family and obviously to our Portista friends. George Costa was a figure in Portuguese football and a member of some of those very good golden age national teams that we grew up watching. So it's a big loss, and obviously is a guy that on the field podia meter nojo, but I've never seen that guy speak in a way that he was out of school or disrespectful. So the impression that I have of him as a man is one of class. So you will definitely be missed, and especially by the Porto structure. Also, the loss of Diogo Jota and his brother over the summer, that's been was terrible, and I think that the outpouring of emotions that came out and the people that knew him more personally, and I think that when you look at all the people remembering him and how he spoke about him, another excellent human being without a bone of malice in his body. So another huge miss and a huge loss for not only for the Portuguese football but the world football community. That's it. And on that note, we'll be back next week. Thanks, everybody. Welcome back. Chris, Dave, always a pleasure. See you guys.